Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. So I'm often asked if I'm currently using this feature. Build with AI, the answer is simple, yes. In fact, I use this feature because it's really a very interesting one. It allows you to send messages or prompts, you can call them that, here in the n8n system, and it will simply create the workflow for us. Am I able to create a fully functional operational workflow with this tool? And the answer is well, yes. Here's a workflow that I created from A to Z based on different prompts that I actually sent to n8n. And honestly, this workflow is fully operational, and in fact it was even sold to a company. So, since I created it custom-made, it allows you to receive profile images and turn them into viral videos on TikTok. It even handles the sharing. So it's really a highly operational workflow. You can even see this workflow in action in the video that I'll link for you here. So, in today's video, I'm actually going to show you how I was able to create this workflow starting from this function. Because be careful, if you don't know how to work with it, how to use it, you can't have an operational workflow. And on top of that, I actually combined the use of this function with the GPTs. So it's simply a little tool that I created, and I'm also making it available for free. I'll leave the link to this tool for you in the comments. So it's a tool that will help us right here. Because it's not just any sentence or request that we can send to n8n and expect it to give us what we want. And you know, if we're not experts in this, we're going to lose money. Because every question you ask here costs money, it costs a credit. So for me, I set this one up. And thanks to that, I was simply able to create workflows with it, with just a few credits. And that's very interesting. It changed everything. And how was I able to develop, in fact, this GPTs? Quite simply, I programmed it, let's say, so I'll show you the code. There you go, I actually programmed the system. I gave it almost 200 workflows, or at least 100 workflows anyway, these workflows. These are files, JSON files, and I told it, here are workflows that are operational and that work. I selected the best workflows available today. In fact, from those codes, I trained my system so that it relies on those workflows to actually create the tools and options I'm looking for. So really, it's a whole program, and the goal I'll show you. How to manage and handle this GPTs without any knowledge of n8n. Really, even if you're a beginner, it's possible to create a very interesting workflow. And on top of that, for each workflow, I create a PDF. This is a documentation PDF where all the codes used in n8n are provided in that format. Afterwards, it's a PDF file that I share with the client. So I leave behind a very useful documentation. So every time I ask it for something, it gives me a code like this. I click here to copy it, and then I go and paste it there. For example, here, I'm just doing a simple copy-paste. I click, and what the system will do is first go through the thinking method. So it will think, it will understand. On top of that, it will look for the nodes based on learning and from the n8n database. Then it will actually start creating the different pieces of information, the different nodes, and at that point it will simply be ready for me. The construction of the workflow, you'll see it right away. There you go, so now it's actually displaying the nodes. But be careful, it's going to display them. Then it will move on to a step where it will make the different connections between those nodes. That's very, very important. There you go, so now it has made the different connections. Of course, it has adjusted. It's also injecting the code as well. And you'll see that it's actually going to give me the exact steps to follow to make the different connections. Because this one, actually, what you're seeing there, the message in red means it doesn't have the credential. That means the connection with your own ChatGPT and your own Google Sheets file. So all of this is very interesting. Look, even if I try to connect here, actually it's in the process of doing what's needed to set up all the connections for me. And that's what really makes the difference and is the real update in n8n. In any case, this workflow here is being created for it. It's giving me a bit of a hand. Actually, these are the steps to follow. But be careful. For it to be fully operational, I obviously still need to ask it more questions so it can further develop and actually give me the desired result. So stay until the end of the video. I'll give you the GPTs, I'll show you the right way to do it, and above all, at the end, I'll give you a little bonus to become an expert in annihilation with my training. Ultimate, stay until the end. So, a quick introduction for those who don't know me. I am Dr. Firas. I have a doctorate in artificial intelligence and today I am an instructor on Udemy. So I have a lot of courses on marketing and automation that are available on that platform. And I'm also ranked as the most popular instructor in France. So if you're on Udemy, just type n8n and you'll see that I have some here. About 20 courses that are for beginners, for people who want to get started on the n8n platform. And you also have the link in the description to my course, which is currently the best-selling one in France on n8n automation. It's a 27-hour course. You can watch the demo video for this course and this training. Thank you very much. And let's continue our training together. So now to continue, of course, we need here to add our request here. So after sending the request or the print here, what will n8n do? n8n will try to translate that into a message. But it's very important to send the correct information here. So how did we do it? We simply set it up. This n8n, so a print generator, and I'll show you a very simple little test. Here, in this system, I'm going to give it my idea. So imagine that I want to create, for example, here, I'm going to ask it, I want to create a new video, and every time I upload a video to YouTube, I want the n8n system to automatically generate a custom thumbnail for me. Through this, it's an API that I just sent to it, and I want it to send the result by email to Google Drive and to Telegram. And then instantly it will simply publish the photo on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and on the X network, all in total automation. So here, instantly, not the video, but let's say the custom thumbnail. There you go, that one. I wanted to publish it on LinkedIn. So that's an idea, right? That means imagine I have an idea to create a workflow that will meet that need. When I put this workflow or this idea, it means I'm going to copy it directly here. You'll see that the result it gives me here will be random because it's very general. However, if I come here and send this request, in reality what will happen is that this system will go to the knowledge base, this base here. So it's a database where I've actually put all the workflows that I find less interesting. It will try to see which nodes are used for this kind of action. And then it will actually try to return this code to me. So if I copy this code, if I come here and paste the code, so here I'll delete it. So you'll see that now it explains it better. Actually, the print, so let's increase the size a little bit. You'll see that here it's going to ask it to fetch the video. It explained that it needs the title, the URL, and the information about this video. Here, it's going to use this API to generate the image for me. And then it detailed the sending to upload to Gmail, to Google Drive, and to Telegram. And afterwards, it tells it, you're going to use this node so you can make the publication. And at the end, it tells it that the image resolution must be this specific resolution. So as a result, the system, here in my print, I started with an idea and then ended up with a much more developed prompt. If I actually go back to the workflow, which this one, the workflow I've already set up, it's the same thing here. I have the prompt that I generated from GPT. S1 is taken as is when we launched the system here. It returned to me. During the first launch, it actually returned to me. There you go, 7, we'll put it back here. There, it just returned it to me. Actually, this workflow here, so you'll see that here when I receive this workflow inside, in fact, I'll have all the information that will be properly programmed. For example, if I open, it's here. You'll see that here, it has actually set up the different APIs. You see here, all I have to do is fill it in and just put actually my API. And on top of that, if I look here, for example, at the analysis level, I find that the system has completely set up the necessary information and even the print system has been put in place. So it's very, very important in my system to look at and check actually what it has suggested. Next, it was absolutely necessary here to put what we call the credential. That means connecting the credentials so you don't actually get an error message. Once I have the workflow set up here, there's a piece of information that's very important. You can click there. Instead of entering your question or request here, look here, there's a little button called Ask. So when I click on Ask, I'm not limited by credits. That means I can ask as many questions as I want without any restrictions. For example, I can ask how to set up 11 Labs, which is a tool for voice synthesis. I can also ask here how to set the parameter for 11 Labs, such as adjusting the voice settings. This flexibility lets me keep exploring features and settings, and I can continue to ask follow-up questions whenever I need, all without limitations. 11 laps, the node parameter, and the 20 laps. And that's actually what's really powerful. With this system, it will simply guide me without using up any credits, and that's the point. Be careful, there's a difference between the build section here and the ASK section. So take advantage of this to ask it as many questions as possible here so it can actually help you set things up or come up with ideas. So for me, I switch back and forth between the creation part and the information request part. And here you go, it's actually giving me step-by-step instructions for creating and configuring this node, including what needs to go in the header here. Normally, here, when I open this, I'll find, let's reduce the size. You'll see that here in the header, it sent the information. You see, it sent the information, but here it's still giving me explanations to help me understand better, even giving me tips. And that's actually how I can build my workflow in a really powerful way. I'll also add, for example, if I go here in the workflow, if I come back here, now I'm going to ask it to create stickers for me, and stickers are really interesting. Why? Because I can define each step in more detail. And that was actually the result of the stickers I got. So here I got these different stickers and it really helped me a lot. In fact, to follow the steps of the launch, that's why I requested the stickers. Requesting your stickers means that you've actually completed the first version. And then here, if I go a bit further, I actually wanted to add, for example, in Telegram, a way to retrieve the photo or video of someone. So I actually asked him to handle the retrieval and to save it, to save the photo and the URL separately. And so what he did, I'll show you the second version. It was here. Actually, right here, what he did was, if you look here, he retrieved it. So Telegram, there you go. He actually retrieved the photo from Telegram, the messaging app, and he even put it as a public photo like this, making it visible to everyone. He did it all by himself without any help from others. He managed the entire process on his own, step by step, showing how he could handle it independently. In fact, he suggested putting it on a free server. So here, he did all the necessary configuration so that the system could save the image. If I come back here, for me, it simply allowed me to set it up. So what I changed manually, I realized that here, it doesn't pick up the items that were recently added, like the blocked ones. That's all. Because if I come back here and look, I see that the Tato, that node, actually already exists here, and the configuration here is much more interesting. On the other hand, when I look at what he gave me as Plotato, it's this one. So yes, there we go, we're going to activate it. So regarding this node, look, he used Plotato, and what he did here is correct, but he actually used the HTTP request, which is a node that I could improve by using the official Plotato node. So yes, it's true that this requires knowledge that you need to have, because there are certain nodes that have been recently added to the official n8n catalog. So we're going to do another test. So here I'm actually going to create a workflow. It's a workflow that will simply retrieve the link, the URL of a YouTube video. And it will be able to simply create the thumbnail image for me using a specific API. And then it will send that by email and also to Google Drive. And it will also notify me on Telegram. So it's very interesting, especially for people who offer this kind of service, like freelancers who generate thumbnails. And it's also interesting for me. Every time I create a video and publish it on YouTube, I like to have a professional thumbnail automatically generated. So how do I do it? I simply copy and paste this code, and then I start creating this system. So as you saw here, you should know that you can't exceed 1,000 characters, so that's the print limit. So even if I have a workflow that contains a lot of nodes, I try to break them down, for example, into 2 or 3 parts. So here I gave it the trigger. Here's what it's going to do. Extract information from the video, prepare the text, generate the image, and then download it and send a notification. I see here that it has created the different nodes. It's in the process of creating them. I see Google Drive and I see Gmail. That's good. Now, it just organized them this way. Let's wait a little bit. Let's see how it adjusts things. So right now, it's actually adjusting the different nodes to configure and set up the APIs, which is very interesting. You'll see that we also have the possibility to intervene later to add another part. So we'll wait for it to finish, and we can simply copy and paste this second part. I tell it to continue after the last node, and I actually ask it to create a post for me, to actually share this thumbnail, along with the link to my video on the different social networks. And that can be very interesting for, automatically promoting my video as well. So here, it tells me, okay, you need to set up Telegram, Apple, Google Drive, and Gmail. I understand that's normal, and so now I'm going to ask it to come here starting from this part. Actually from the Telegram notification. And here I'm going to try to actually add the next part. So here it's another step to continue the workflow. So I started. You saw here it's going to do the understanding. It understands what was done here. This whole part is well configured. And so now it's just going to continue. So we'll wait a little bit so it can actually pick up the nodes that I need. And so it can continue with the execution. So we'll wait a little bit. So now it has added the different nodes. I see that it has added the node to create and write the post. And here it's a bit at the bloto level, and that's great. So now it has added bloto with the sending to. So there you have it, LinkedIn, Facebook, and the X network. So this is what we actually call the execution of the workflow from A to Z. Of course, once I update the workflow by making the connections and checking everything. And at that point, I can actually ask it to write the stickers for me. And it's very interesting because thanks to the stickers, I can actually see the configurations, the different steps that are present in my workflow. A tip before immediately asking for the stickers. You should check to see if everything is working properly and verify if you have any other information. So for example, here I'm going to check. Actually, it's about looking here and checking a bit how the print system did this. This is my print system, so that we can ask it to write a LinkedIn post for us. For example, one that is engaging and all that. So I see that it has connected all the variables, and as I requested, it has listed here the prerequisites for me to have a quality post. There you go. So now I think I can save. You can even see here that it suggested a title for our workflow. All that's left to do now is to improve, check, and always continue refining the questionnaire, and send requests to further personalize this workflow. So now an important question. How can you further personalize the workflow? That is, how to add nodes, how to actually find inspiration to know which scenario to use to better improve your workflow. And especially if you have a client behind the scenes who is actually asking for a specific result. So actually, to be honest with you, you had to take courses, you had to learn, you had to watch and do hands-on workshops that show how to create a workflow from A to Z. That's why, in fact, I thought of putting together a complete training here where I actually explain in detail how I was able to create the workflow. This is a little bit different from what I did on YouTube. That means I show, starting from a blank page, how I created the workflow. I'll quickly show you a little demonstration so you can better understand how it works. For example, here I'll go to this training and I'll find several modules. I'll just pick this module at random. Of course, I start with the documentation, the access for server updates, and the workflow to download. And then if I take, for example, a video here, you'll see that I take my time to show you how to build the different pieces of information. And that's what makes the difference, because importing a workflow or asking an n8n to create a workflow for you, that's great, it saves a lot of time, but am I able to update it, adjust it, or find it? In fact, which modules need to be implemented to achieve a specific result, and especially if we need to make internal configurations within the workflow, like connecting APIs. Sometimes, even if we're guided by the virtual assistant, we actually need to really put this knowledge into practice. That's why here we have access to these kinds of training. And to thank you for staying until the end of this video, you've shown your interest. You'll come here, click on the button, buy now, and then you'll simply proceed. Click on add a discount coupon. So this is a special coupon for my YouTube community. I enter YT20. And so, as a result, it will actually give me a 20% discount. So, I choose whether I want to pay by card or by PayPal. You also have the option to pay in 3 installments. And with that, you get direct access to this training. And be aware, you have a guarantee, a 15-day satisfaction or your money-back guarantee. Because I know very well that after 15 days, it means you will have done at least 2 or 3 workshops and you'll have a much more advanced level in n8l. The refund is processed automatically on the platform. You have a refund button because we know. And we are confident that the quality of the training will make you even more curious to discover all the workshops. With that, I want to say thank you very much and see you very soon.